Okay, here's my next example, number 12. I still want to solve the system of equations, specifically using elimination. Okay, go through your steps or go through your checklist. Each of the equations on number 12 are already, about to focus there, are already in standard form. 9x plus 4y equals 11, 3x minus 10y equals negative 2. But here's what you should notice. 9x and 3x, those are not the opposite of each other. 4y and negative 10y, those are also not the opposite of each other. So if I want to do things in the least amount of steps, even though you can get the opposite number of y's by multiplying, say, the first equation by 10 and the second equation by 4, then you'd have 40y and negative 40y. Okay, there's a quicker and possibly easier way to do it. 9x is in the first equation. The opposite of that is negative 9x. So I can take the entire second equation and then multiply it by negative 3, which means multiply every single part by negative 3. I'm still using the rules of equations. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So it's 3x times negative 3, that's negative 9x. Negative 10y times negative 3 is positive 30y. And then on the right side, I have to multiply that by negative 3 as well. Negative 2 times negative 3 is 6. I'm going to keep the first equation exactly the same. 9x plus 4y is equal to 11. Since I have the opposite number of x's, I could add those two equations together. 9x plus negative 9x, x is eliminated. 4y plus 30y is 34y. And then on the right side, 11 plus 6 is 17. So then I can solve this for y, divide each side by 34. And then y is equal to 1/2 or 0.5. Still need to find the value of x, so I can substitute that back into either of the equations. I'm going to choose the first equation. 9x plus 4 times 1/2 or 0.5 equals 11. 4 times 0.5 is 2, so 9x plus 2 equals 11. Subtract 2 from each side. 9x equals 9. If I divide each side by 9, x is equal to 1. So the solution should be 1, and then either 1/2 or 0.5. And then on this last example that I want to go over with you guys, on number 18, I still want to solve the system by elimination. Each of the equations are already in standard form, but I don't have the opposite number of x's. I don't have the opposite number of y's. Okay. Unless you use like decimals or fractions, I can't do what I did on the last example and only change one of the equations, but here's what you can do. Here, it's kind of a toss-up as far as if you want to eliminate x, you'd have to multiply both the equations by something. If you want to eliminate y, kind of the same thing. Okay, if you remember back to possibly like 5th or 6th grade when you were going over fractions, one of the things that you found is the lowest common multiple. So if I look at the first equation, it has negative 3x, and then the second equation, 2x. Just looking at the numbers without worrying about positives or negatives, the lowest common multiple between 2 and 3 is 6. Okay, 6 is the smallest number. That's a multiple of both 2 and 3. So the first equation, I can multiply the entire first equation by 2. And then what I'll end up with is negative 6x plus 10y is equal to negative 4. Since I have negative 6x in the first equation, the opposite of that is positive 6x. So I'd multiply the second equation by 3. So if you need to multiply both the equations by a number, it's not going to be the same number. I'm multiplying the first equation by 2, the second equation by 3. But I have to multiply everything in the first equation by 2 and then everything in the second equation by 3. So then the second equation becomes 2x times 3 is 6x. I have the opposite number of x's. Negative 2y times 3 is negative 6y. And then on the right side, 1 times 3 is 3. Since I have the opposite number of x's, now I could just do what I did on the other examples to eliminate x. Negative 6x plus 6x, 0. 10y plus negative 6y would be 4y. And then on the right side, negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1. So then I could divide each side by 4. Y is equal to negative 1/4 or negative 0.25. Either way is fine. And then I could use that to help me find the value of x. So to find the value of x, I'm going to substitute it back into this equation. substitute y back in there. So the equation is 2x minus 2 times y. Y is negative 1/4 or negative 0.25 is equal to 1. Okay, and it's 2x minus 2 times negative 0.25. Negative times a negative is a positive, and then 2 times negative 0.25 is 1/2 or 0.5. It's equal to 1. So then what I could do is add 1/2 to each side. Sorry, subtract 1/2 from each side. So then 2x is equal to 1 minus 1/2 is 1/2 or 0.5. If I divide each side by 2, 0.5 divided by 2 is 0.25. So then the solution would be 0.25, that's x, negative 0.25 is y.